Hey everybody, what we're talking about today is the Fiance Visa scam by the US border pigs. And just to qualify that, the word pig is an acronym, stands from persons in government who breach the trust and perjure their oaths. The Fiance Visa scam by the US border pigs, they want your life's history. They want 10 years of residential history. They want 10 years of employment history. They want over $1,000 worth of extortion for a so-called green card is what it is. And it is, however, true that in all common law countries, and has always and consistently been held, that the wife and minor children take the nationality of the husband and father. That is common law doctrine. And when it's none of their damn business. That's why they're pigs. At common law, who you want for your wife is none of their damn business. But did you know that there are no common law offenses against the United States? Only those acts which Congress has forbidden with penalties for disobedience of its command are crimes. And that's U.S. 7th Circuit, which is basically citing the Supreme Court. And so no common law crimes equals martial law rule. Okay, that's what's going on. That's what's been going on since at least the Civil War. Statutes have been passed extending the courts of admiralty and vice admiralty far beyond their ancient limits for depriving us of the accustomed and inestimable privilege of trial by jury in cases affecting both life and property, to supersede the course of common law and instead thereof to publish and order the use and exercise of law martial. And that's taken from the Causes and Necessities for Taking Up Arms in 1775. Okay, so it's the same stuff that's been going on right from the beginning. We can't even begin to count the number of times judges, lawyers, and statesmen have said there isn't any common law anymore. It's been replaced by statute. They would be more truthful if they said there isn't any common law anymore. It's been replaced by martial law. And that's taken from D.I.Y versus Turner, the non-ratification of the 14th Amendment by Judge A.H. Ellett of the Utah Supreme Court. No common law equals martial law rule. So these Satanists intend to assault you with their martial law. They're a bunch of order follower pigs. And the same thing holds true in Texas. Under Texas law, no act or omission is a crime unless made so by statute. Under martial law, there are no crimes unless they make it by statute. The legislature may create an offense and the same enactment provide exceptions to its application. All statutes are for U.S. citizens. All statutes are for the slaves. And the Satanist border pigs are busy fabricating evidence that you're one of the slaves. It's all about business. Their Fiance Visa scam by the U.S. border pigs creates another U.S. citizen slave, converts a right into a privilege, makes money for their Roman cult bar member whores in the so-called courts by breaking up families. How many families, probably thousands of families, have been broken up by these Satanist pigs at the border? By seizing children, future prison business for the juvenile delinquents that are created. Okay, this is all about business. These people are Satanists. Creates lots of future slave business for their Roman cult handlers. And they can enslave future generations of your family, okay? And if you don't believe that, look at what I'm going to show you next. They can tell you what to do in your own bedroom. They can create more cannon fodder for their future planned wars, which are nothing more than a giant commercial transaction. See the War on Terror is a War on You video. They can create more slaves to service their fraudulent, fictitious debt. See the U.S. citizen as a slave video. And this is taken from the Law of Nations by Vattel, the book 1, chapter 19, section 213, page 87. Residents, as distinguished from citizens, are aliens who are permitted to take up a permanent abode in the country. Being bound to the society by reason of their dwelling in it, they are subject to its laws so long as they remain there, and being protected by it, they must defend it. Although they do not enjoy all the rights of citizens, they have only certain privileges which the law or custom gives them. Permanent residents are those who have been given the right of perpetual residence. They are a sort of citizen of less privileged character and are subject to the society without enjoying all its advantages. Their children succeed to their status, for the right of perpetual residence given to them by the state passes to their children. Okay, so that's exactly what's going on, sheeple. And one does not necessarily become a non-resident by absconding or absenting himself from his place of abode. That's the Missouri Court of Appeals. And what they're essentially saying there, it's what you tell them. Residence, the fact of being officially present, the statutory presence of an incumbent in a benefice. It's all commercial. The term resident and citizen of the United States is distinguished from a citizen of one of the several states in that the former is a special class of citizen created by Congress. Therefore, U.S. citizens residing in one of the states of the Union are classified as property and franchises of the federal government as an individual entity. A U.S. citizen, upon leaving the District of Columbia, becomes involved in interstate commerce as a resident, does not have the common law right to travel of a citizen of one of the several states. The stopping of an automobile by a highway patrol officer for inspection of a driver's license or for any other purpose where it's accomplished by authority of the officer is an arrest. Okay, these Satanist pigs assault people all the day. They arrest you with no authority, and an arrest is an assault. Any restraint, however slight, upon another's liberty to come and go as one pleases constitutes an arrest. Okay, they arrest you. They have no authority. They're a bunch of Satanist pigs. An illegal arrest is an assault and battery. A person so attempted to be restrained of his liberty has the same right to use force in defending himself as he would in repelling any other assault and battery. Each person has the right to resist an unlawful arrest. In such a case, the person attempting the arrest stands in the position of a wrongdoer and may be resisted by the use of force as in self-defense. These pigs assault people every day, millions of them. One may come to the aid of another being unlawfully arrested, just as where one is being assaulted, molested, raped, or kidnapped. Thus, it is not an offense to liberate one from the unlawful arrest custody of an officer, even though he may have submitted to such custody without resistance. Similarly, a person cannot be convicted of resisting a peace officer in the execution of his duty unless the officer was acting strictly within the limits of his power and duty. If the officer makes an unlawful arrest, then there's a common law right to resist that arrest. These pigs breach the peace every day. They're a bunch of Satanist pigs. A breach of the peace takes place when either an assault is committed on an individual or public alarm and excitement is caused. Mere annoyance or insult is not enough. Thus, at common law, a householder cannot give a man into custody for violently and persistently ringing his doorbell. It is a particular duty of the magistrate or police officer to preserve the peace unbroken. Hence, if he has reasonable cause to believe that the breach of peace is imminent, he may be justified in committing an assault or effecting an arrest. Black's Law Dictionary, 8th edition. A breach of the peace is a violation or disturbance of the public tranquility and order. The offense of breaking or disturbing the public peace by any riotous, forcible, or unlawful proceeding. Okay, these pigs breach the peace every day. These pigs assault millions of people every day. Breach of the peace is a generic term, includes all violations of public peace and order and acts tending to the disturbance thereof. One who commits a breach of the peace is guilty of disorderly conduct, but not all disorderly conduct is necessarily a breach of the peace. That's Black's Law Dictionary, 4th edition. And then they drag you into their kangaroo court when acting to enforce a statute. Yeah, like the border pigs the statute about their fiance visa, or that's actually a regulation. When acting to enforce a statute and subsequent amendments to the present date, the judge of municipal court is acting as an administrating officer, not in a judicial capacity. Courts administrating or enforcing statutes do not act judicially, but merely ministerially, but merely act as an extension, as an agent for the involved agency, but only in a ministerial and not in a discretionary capacity. So he's a bought and paid for clerk. He's a whore. He's settled himself. He's operating in his private capacity. He's a Satanist pig. A kangaroo court, a self-appointed tribunal, or mock court, which principles of law and justice are disregarded, perverted, and parodied. A court or a tribunal characterized of unauthorized or irregular procedures so as to render a fair proceeding impossible. A sham legal proceeding. That's exactly what these Satanists do. Black's Law Dictionary, 8th edition. A kangaroo court, a term descriptive of a sham legal proceeding in which a person's rights are totally disregarded and in which the result is a foregone conclusion because of the bias of the court or other tribunal. It's a kangaroo court. These pigs drag you into their kangaroo court, put on their show trial, and railroad you and sell you into slavery. That's exactly what these pigs do. When acting to enforce a statute and its subsequent amendments to the present date, the judge of municipal court is acting as an administrative officer and not in a judicial capacity. Courts administrating and enforcing statutes do not act judicially, but merely ministerially. He's a bought and paid for clerk. Ministerial officers are incompetent to receive grants of judicial power from the legislature, and their acts in attempting to exercise such powers are necessarily nullities. Okay, they go and issue void judgments. They don't have authority to issue an order. They don't have authority to do shit. They send out their U.S. citizen pigs to assault you, kidnap you, and falsely imprison you as a revenue officer under the Federal Tax Lien Act of 1966. Then they hold a show trial in their kangaroo court that has a U.S. citizen prosecutor and a U.S. citizen clerk masquerading as a judge. They might as well go and get some bag person off the street and pay him $50 to convict you. That's exactly what they did. Then they mark merchandise of you and sell you into slavery. They hire low intelligence thugs who don't have more than 2 brain cells. They give their low intelligence thugs a gun and tell them to go out and assault and murder whoever they want. Then their bail priest, bar member bail priests in their so-called courts can call it a contract. And all bar members are agents of the Roman cult. See the Bar Members 1, 2, and 3 video. They screen out low intelligence people in their hiring process for their Leos. See Jordan versus City of New London, the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit, case number 99-9188. Robert Jordan had a master's degree and scored too high in the test. He had too many brain cells. I know several people who were not hired for these kinds of positions because they scored too high in their test. And this is a web page showing that a man who's bid to become a police officer was rejected after he scored too high in their intelligence test, has lost his appeal. The bail priests in the Second Circuit want those low intelligence pigs to go out there and assault people and murder people. It makes so much business for their so-called court. Let's bring in some business here, you bunch of whores. Not all peace officers are low intelligence thugs, though, I gotta say, in all fairness. Some of them actually learn on their own, not any due to these Satanist pigs and their bosses, on their own what their duty is to take their oath seriously. See, the Oath Keepers on Facebook is a good example. Their Roman cult Satanist bosses tried to get rid of them as soon as possible, and there's YouTube videos about real peace officers getting fired because they're getting quotas shoved down their throat. Mark Passio is a former Satanist priest. He's got natural law videos about the pillars of Satanism, and one of the pillars of Satanism is moral relativism. There's no absolute right or wrong. Truth is relative. We just make it up today, and tomorrow it's going to be something different. Gee, that sounds like one of their kangaroo court cases. What's right or wrong is what we decide today. 2/3 of the people in America, according to Passio, believe in are practicing Satanists. Well, I think he's being generous. I think it's more like about 90%. Survival, the highest law of Satanism. Social Darwinism. Certain classes of society think they're most fit to rule. Postulates the survival of the most socially ruthless. Ultimate responsibilities and self-preservation. Eugenics. Elite get to determine who lives or dies. These people are all Satanists. And then order followers. That's one of the pillars of Satanism. They got to have these order followers. They're responsible for all of the atrocities in history. They just follow orders without thinking about whether it's a lawful order or not. Order followers are cowards. They operate in a street gang, and they're willing slaves. This is Mark Passio's YouTube channel. Highly recommend it. Brilliant guy. Anyone who's wearing a military uniform is an agent of the Roman cult. The wearing of clerical dress or religious habit on the part of layfolk is liable to the same penalty on the part of the state as the misuse of military uniform. And that's Article 10 of the Concordat of 1933, which Hitler signed with the Roman cult. Almost all so-called governments are bankrupt and owned and operated by the Roman cult. At common law, a sheriff would have a star only. At common law, there is no military uniform. The World War II war crimes tribunals. There was all the Nazis claimed they were just following orders. Gee, that sounds like they were saying they were Satanists. That sounds like most American order follower pigs, especially the ones at the borders. They either suffered death by hanging or spent the rest of their life in jail. Some of them are still hunted to this day. In the Vietnam War, the My Lai massacre, they were all convicted of murder. Today, order followers are everywhere. Things you see every day using the satanic philosophy of moral relativism or false flag operations. The end justifies the means. Agent provocateurs, the end justifies the means. Entrapment, the end justifies the means. And if you think about it, entrapment is where they just, whoever was able to build a case that the agent provocateurs entrapped them. That's exactly what it is. All court cases are kangaroo courts unless it's a common law court, and those are few and far between, and which is all Satanism. There'll be no peace as long as the Roman cult is in power. All Roman cult does is warfare. It's all warfare, commercial warfare. There was no world wars until the first central bank was set up. Negotiable instrument law is a subset of Roman law, and that's what we have circulating for money these days. There is no peace, saith my God, to the wicked, okay? And all you people out there are a bunch of wicked Satanists is what you are. Not all of you. There's a few that aren't. It is, however, true in all common law countries and always inconsistently been held that the wife and minor children take the nationality of the husband and father. That's common law doctrine. So what's the solution? The solution is to get your wife to come here as a tourist. You don't know if you're going to get married until you actually do. If you think about it, think about it. I mean, maybe she's going to get run over by a truck. Maybe a meteorite's going to come down and hit her in the head or something like that. Who knows what's going to happen? You have no idea what the future holds. And so she comes as a tourist. And then once you get married, there's not a damn thing they can do about it. But I would serve them with a notice. I'd get up in their face and tell them that she is now your property. And if they have something to say to her, to say it to you. And that's where I would go. And you'll have to file lawsuits over issues to come up. But actually, there's not too many because they already know about state citizens. And that's why there's millions of so-called illegal aliens in America that they can't do a damn thing about because of common law. And so, anyway, so once she's here, there's not much they can do about it. Ye are the father of the devil, and the lusts of your father you will do. He was a murderer from the beginning, and abode not in the truth, because there's no truth in him. When he speaketh a lie, he speaketh of his own, for he's a liar and the father of it. And so these people are all Satanists. Everything they do is a lie. Everything they do is a fraud. They're nothing but a bunch of pigs. But the fearful and unbelieving and abominable and murderers and whoremongers and sorcerers and idolaters and all liars shall have their part in the lake which burneth with fire and brimstone, which is the second death. If you're afraid to circulate this around, if you don't believe it, Well, I'm afraid that you're not going to do too well on Judgment Day. I've done a pretty good job here of substantiating what I've said. I suggest that maybe you ought to look up the sites and everything, but you have all the references. But if you just don't want to get off your backside, then Judgment Day is not going to do too well for people like that. Anyways, by which he also went and preached to the spirits in prison. Spirit prison is hell. And it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall punish the host of the high ones that are on high, and the kings of the earth upon the earth, and they shall be gathered together as prisoners are gathered in the pit, and they shall be shut up in prison, and after many days shall they be visited. And so all these Satanist pigs are going to hell. It behooves every man who values liberty of conscience for himself to resist invasions of it in case of others, or their case may by changing circumstances become his own. And what Jefferson's talking about there is karma. And what goes around comes around. And so if you don't get off your backside and do something about it, then these border pigs are going to assault you. I'll bet you. I'll bet you that's exactly what'll happen. They don't have to be at the border these days. They'll be anywhere, and they'll just go ahead and assault you. And so what goes around comes around. Just keep that in mind. When shall it be said, in any country of the world my poor are happy, neither ignorance or distress is to be found among them. My jails are empty of prisoners, my streets of beggars, the aged are not in want. The tax is not oppressive, the rational world is my friend, because I am friend of its happiness. When these things can be said, then may that country boast of its constitution and government. Well, we have absolutely nothing to boast about here. We have a bunch of Satanists that have taken over the government, a bunch of pigs that are running around populating the prisons. We have the streets are full of beggars. Now, of course, we have a new administration coming into power. Now, whether they actually complete that transition and what they actually do is yet to be seen. Quite frankly, I have great hope that things are going to improve drastically. But cash talks and bullshit walks. That's my attitude. And but if the watchmen see the sword come and blow not the trumpet, and the woman be not warned, if the sword come and take any person from among them, he's taken in his iniquity, but his blood will I require at the watchman's hands. This is my effort to make sure that I'm blameless on Judgment Day for the blood and sins of this generation. Either you're part of the problem or you're part of the solution. You are now a watchman. Circulate this video far and wide. Other videos, I've got over 240 videos. Bankster thieves, 1, 2, and 3. Bar members, 1, 2, and 3. Do-it-yourself how not to volunteer for the Selective Service. If you don't want to be one of their cannon fodder war machines, then you don't have to. Martial laws here, do-it-yourself, no income tax, no sales tax, traffic stops, free mail, and kangaroo courts, 1, 2, and 3. Copies of these documents can be found in my private group at Yahoo called Administrating Your Public Servants. I have YouTube videos that are private videos of private information shares that show these and other court citations that are available for donation. Donations to support this work are appreciated. And this is actually a last paragraph is for all the revenue officer Satanists out there that are operating under the Federal Tax Lien Act of 1966. First of all, I'm not in D.C. And second of all, you can take your privileges and benefits and put them up your rectal orifice. I prefer gold or silver coin, but as an extremely less desirable alternative, I can accept the IOUs, Federal Reserve notes, PayPal gifts, checks, money orders, etc. Send me an email for particulars. If you find this useful, you need to pay it forward. If you don't know what pay it forward is, then watch the movie. Send me your success stories. My blog is sovereigntyinternational.wordpress.com. My website is sovereigntyinternational.fyi. My email is engineerwin@yahoo. My YouTube profile is Sovereign Living. My Facebook community page was deleted. I deleted it due to censorship on the part of Facebook. And my private group, Sovereignty International, is being deleted. And I have a private group at Yahoo called Administrating Your Public Servants, and at Google called Administrating Your Public Servants. I appreciate you taking the time to watch the video. I hope you get something out of it, and please circulate it far and wide, because we got to put a stop to all of this. Anyways, I hope you have a real nice day.